I do want to start off by talking about my trip to Washington, D.C., and then we can move on. I want to get into this for a few minutes. I was the most trending story. Yes, yours truly, Brian Shapiro, was the most trending story on X Saturday night for a few hours. Was not on my bingo card when I took a trip out there. I was assaulted, and I will get into that. So for those of you that were unaware, I took a trip out to D.C. I did the Tim Pool show last month, and we had a good time, and he invited me to his live taping of the Timcast at a local comedy club in front of a live audience of a few hundred people, and it was right in D.C., right downtown D.C., and up on the stage was Myron Gaines, Alex Stein, myself, an OnlyFans model, I'm forgetting her name, and a comedian on my left, I'm forgetting her name as well. I'm going to obviously be playing clips of this event, but it's not airing on Tim Pool's show until Friday. So whenever they give me the footage, but it was wild. I can tell you to start the show, Myron Gaines called me a Jew, and it didn't end very well for him because for 2 hours I was just hammering him on the issues, on his misogyny, on his racism, on his anti-Semitism. I said he was the male version of Candace Owens. I made some references to the fact that I think he needs to come out of the closet. And I hammered Myron Gaines for 2 hours. Alex Stein made one joke about me in the first 5 seconds. I think he made a joke and I'm going to play all this, when I get the video of it. He made a joke about me getting my tampon out, and then I said the same tampons that you were wearing after Donald Trump was shot and you wore tampons on your ear. He stayed away from me the rest of the show. Tim was cool. I was called plenty of homophobic slurs from Myron Gaines and some people in the crowd. Now, there was a portion of the show where people in the crowd, which I thought was great, there were people in the crowd, mostly a Trump-supporting crowd, got an opportunity to go on the microphone and speak. Most of the people that spoke wanted to speak to me. I will say this, I do talk a lot at times, and I was probably talking 90% of the 2-hour show, which I don't think anybody had a problem with because it was quite entertaining. There were people up there that called me homophobic slurs. There were people up there that were making anti-Semitic statements, and I defended myself, of course. There was one guy that came up there who has not done this show before. I'm not going to give out his name because I don't want to give him any free PR, but if you follow me on social media, you'll know who I'm talking about. He's a guy who looks like Chris Farley's brother, who travels around, a huge MAGA supporter, who can't control his emotions, and chases around Antifa for a living. Like, I don't think the guy has a real job. He alleges that he's Michael Flynn's security, but I learned that he was like the backup to the backup to the backup of Michael Flynn's security. So the guy doesn't really have a job, and he travels around the country chasing around Antifa, calling himself a peacemaker. So anyway, he gets up on the microphone. He has a prepared statement just to attack me and call me names. There was nothing of substance. He threatened me. And there was nothing of substance of what he said, and I think my response to him was just, you give it to me, I'm going to give it back. I said, Chris Farley called, he wants his dead body back, and, it was insults back and forth. But again, it was within the confines of the show. People were laughing. I didn't take any offense to it, and that was the end of it. Just a moron. I live in his head rent-free. He comes up there, and he tries to attack me. No harm, no foul. Everybody was laughing. Everybody was having a good time. So, after this 2-hour discussion, which was supposed to be about dating, but somehow I turned it into transgenders and Trump and the 2020 election. I mean, it was all over the place. But everybody on the Tim Pool staff, they said this was the best show they've ever done with a live audience. They were very happy. Tim Pool was happy. Everybody was happy. I even shook Myron's hand, and we made up, even though I don't like Myron very much. But everybody was cool, right? So then Alex Stein, Myron Gaines, and myself were like, hey, should we all go out there and shake the hands of some people, take some pictures? I said, sure, let's do it, And I had some MAGA people come up to me, and they said, hey, man, I don't agree with you, but I just want to say I think you did a great job. You got guts to debate everybody, and let me take a picture with you. And everybody was cool. And I met some of my listeners, some of the people who won tickets. I was shaking their hands. Really nice people. Even the Trump supporters, right? They understood that the show was over. Shake each other's hand. Let's take some pictures. I was happy to do that. And everything was going very well. The guy who was insulting me at the microphone, I'll give out his first name, Chad, the guy who looks like Chris Farley. As I'm taking pictures with some fans, literally, he gets right up in my face, and I'm not exaggerating. There's actually video of this from the comedy club. He gets this close to my face, which is off-putting as much as it is. Starts yelling at me saying, "You want to call me a coward now?" Now, for a little backstory to this, the reason why I called him a coward is because he agreed to do my show 6 months ago, then dodged me for 3 months, but was tweeting at me on social media. And I said, dude, if you don't want to do my show, that's totally fine. I don't think I'm Mr. Important. If you don't want to come on my show, just tell me. But when you say you're going to do something and do my show, and then you dodge me, and then you go after me on social media, you're a coward. That's why I called him that. You want to call me a coward now? He's this close to my face. And I think I said something along the line, and he had really bad breath too, by the way. Oh my God. It was like the smell of death was his breath, by the way. Use a Tic Tac, bro. Anyway, I said, dude, the show is over. If you want to have a calm conversation with me about our disagreements, I'm happy to do that. But the show is over. If you'd like to talk about our differences, I'll do that with you. He continues to yell right in my face. This lasted for about maybe 10 or 15 seconds. And then, as you can see, people are trying to tell him to get away from me. He takes his hand and he pushes it in my face, right in like my nose area. And then I clench my fist, and then literally 1 second later, I see him running, getting out of there. Somebody grabs me. Actually, I had two people that grabbed me. I thought they were Trump supporters at first, but they were actually Tim Pool's staff that grabbed me and got me backstage because they didn't want to see anything escalate, which, by the way, I appreciate. They did a great job. So he's running away, a complete buffoon who doesn't know how to handle his emotions. And this is the same guy who tries to call himself the peacemaker, chasing around Antifa, calling the left violent. So makes him look really bad. So I'm talking to Tim Pool. He was obviously very upset. He said some very nice things, and he said, that's unacceptable. He told me right after the show that, this isn't a show without you. We need the opposition. You did a great job. He said some very nice things. Alex Stein knows this guy. Alex was very supportive as well. Tim Pool's people were very supportive. Even Myron Gaines was like, yeah, I saw that. Unacceptable. Everybody that was on that stage and everybody within Tim Pool's staff all was on my side, which, by the way, I appreciate. But why wouldn't you be on my side? The guy assaulted me. I wasn't injured, but it was unacceptable behavior, right? The guy's a complete clown. So I go back to my hotel room, had dinner with Tim Pool, Myron Gaines, Alex Stein. Tim Pool had tweeted something out. I said, don't put his name in there. Give him an opportunity to apologize. Nothing. So the next day, I sent a direct message to this guy, and I said, dude, if you don't apologize, I'm going to press charges. Then he sends me a statement saying, listen, man, I was pushed into, somebody pushed me into you. He made all these stupid excuses. I said, dude, you're a coward. This is why I call you a coward. You either own what you did or you don't. He told some of his friends that I put my face into his hand, which is a blatant lie. There's witnesses there. That's exactly not what happened. So he starts by lying. And I was more upset at that than the actual assault. I was more upset at the fact that he lied. So then I start getting pissed off, and I'm like, geez, maybe I should press charges, right? And I sent him one more message. I said, if you don't own what you did and publicly apologize, I'm going to press charges on you. He puts out a statement saying that he was sorry, but it was kind of a half-hearted apology. I wasn't really happy about it, but he sort of apologized, and I said, okay, this could go one of two ways. Either I press charges. I'm not one of those people that files a lawsuit in a fender bender, okay? I'm not the guy who says, whiplash, give me $30,000, I'm injured. I don't want to be that guy. Now, I have up to a year to press charges. I probably won't, but it would go a long way if this guy actually reached out to me and gave me a sincere apology, which I don't think he has. I think the only reason why he did what he did on social media is because I threatened to file a police report. So, that's what happened. That's the entire story. Other than that, it was a great experience. I had a great time. Had some private conversations with Tim about a lot of different issues. And it was fun. And I cannot wait until they air this. My understanding is Tim Pool is going to be airing this 2-hour show on Friday. I cannot wait. If they send it to me sooner, I will play clips of it on the air. It was extremely entertaining. I was extremely aggressive with Myron. I did not take any crap. And there were some people in the crowd that thought Donald Trump won the 2020 election. I think I called them insurrectionists. But I did not hold back at all. This was the aggressive Brian that you hear when MAGA buffoons call into the show. That was me for 2 hours. I did not hold back. I was aggressive Brian. Not at Tim Pool and not at Alex Stein, because they were very respectful to me, but to anybody that was disrespectful to me, and trust me, there were plenty of them, I was very aggressive right back. All in all, it was a great experience. I had a lot of fun other than this assault. Everything was great. And maybe later on the show, you guys could tell me whether you think I should press charges or not.